We've got a TVZ. We are spawning into Equilibrium, the new map. And it is not just any TVZ, but of course, one of the best Zergs in the world. In the upper left-hand corner, it is Dark. Got a little banter here going on with his opponent. In the upper right, it's Gumiho. And I'm very excited for this. We are on a new set of maps. This is the first TVZ I'm getting to see on these new maps. In fact, this is the first non-PvP. So far, I've cast 6 PvP games today. Really excited to see any other matchup. But TVZ is, of course, one of the favorites. Equilibrium, split down the middle, a mirrored map, left and right. We've had a number of maps like this in the past. I think Year Zero, if I recall correctly, was the name of a map. A while ago, there was one called Stasis. There have been quite a few. Old school, you had like, God, was it like Scrap Station something? I don't remember. There have been a lot of maps over the years that have this kind of vertical line down the middle, and then they're mirrored on either side. You have the bases usually in the upper left and upper right. We've had some fantastic games. I'm pretty sure it was called Year Zero, that map from a few years back. Because now I'm remembering there was a lot of really sick games on that map, but one in particular stands out to me was Sue versus Cyril at Katowice 2019 it would have been, early 2019, because it was when Sue beat Cyril and went on to win I Am Katowice. It was so good. What a game. The whole series was so good. The game on Year Zero was insane. The fact that I remember years later tells you just how good it was, because I usually can't remember what I've cast today. In any case, I'm really excited for this map. I think this is going to be one of my favorite maps from this pool. Only time will really tell, but I love maps with this shape, and it's been a while. I'm excited to see some of these new maps with their new shapes and the way it affects the game. We have 9 maps in the map pool now, so that can also change things up a lot. We're much more likely to get variety series to series, because the different matchups will really require different maps. And not only that, we are on the new patch as well. This is going to be one of the first tournaments on the new maps with the new patch. And I'm excited to see how some of these players handle it. Of course, the Cyclone is the big unit for Terran. There have been a number of other changes as well. Most of them a little bit smaller and a little bit less controversial. But this is Gumiho. I kind of expect to see some Cyclone play out of him since it is so new. And apparently it's very good. I'm really excited to see how these guys use the new units and the changes. Gumiho is not often one to shy away from new things. So I wonder if he's going to try anything here for us. It does look like he's going to focus on barracks play though, so maybe not just yet. But of course, if you're here on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. Give us some love here. This is new content. You've never seen this map before, unless you're watching this like not right now, not like really soon, and then maybe you have. But maybe you've never seen Dark versus Gumiho on it before. Probably not. In fact, it might be a while before Dark versus Gumiho plays on this map again. That's another cool thing, actually, about having all the new maps is you could have the same series play out completely differently depending on what day it's on. Oh, Gumiho getting a little bit caught here as the Hellions got split up. That's something that can absolutely happen on new maps, but they're going to join up with the Marines. This cheeky little push from Gumiho coming in here. Well, the Hellions got a little split up. The new map pathing messing him up a little bit. He's still going to be very annoying with this drop. Cleaning up some creep, killing an Overlord, trading out with some of the Lings. Heading into the main base now. The Lings are here. The Queens, though, are going to be the big story as they can poke away this medevac. And Gumiho's going to have to get out of there. His medevac has already taken a good bit of damage. There was a medevac change, too. I think it was a later game upgrade, if I'm not mistaken. Was it like a healing buff? I have the patch open and a tab here so I can kind of scroll through and see what it is. The speed upgrade, which we used to barely ever see, has been replaced with the Caduceus Reactor. So the energy regen rate is twice as good. So that's a fusion core upgrade for the medevac. So if we go decently late game, that's a very strong upgrade. We'll undoubtedly see Gumiho go for that, assuming he remembers that it's a thing. The only other change is that their presence on the minimap is now slightly larger, which only affects certain maps. So, you know, fun stuff. Gumiho spotting that this base is on its way up and is going to go ahead and siege these tanks up, and is going to absolutely be a cancel. In fact, the tanks aren't even going to have to siege to force the cancel, but they'll do it anyways. I like this position on the gold base. A very strong position, but really only for the gold. You don't have that position on the regular bases of the Zerg. It doesn't mean Dark's going to have to figure out what other base to take. He could expand way down here. It's pretty far away. Gumiho's right now kind of pushing the other 4th base location, so Dark is a little bit stuck on 3 bases while Gumiho's taking a 4th. I don't know if Gumiho has realized it, though. Dark doesn't necessarily mind being stuck on 3 bases for the time being because he's just building units. He's got 1-1 and Roach speed on the way. He is going to go ahead and take that 4th base, but I think Dark is just going to try to push for as many Roaches as he can get by 1-1, and then he's going to head across the map. That's a little worrisome for Gumiho. We have seen him die to these kinds of Roach pushes from Dark before. I don't think Roaches were affected by this patch. Yeah, nothing to do with Roaches. One thing that was changed, the armor upgrade cost was slightly reduced for levels 2 and 3. That's the one thing in this that affects Roaches. So Dark is just doing his good old Dark stuff. It will... Things might matter later if we start to head towards like Lurkers and Vipers. There have been some changes to kind of the late game. In fact, the late game of this matchup has changed quite a lot, with Ghosts getting a little bit of a hit as well. Gumiho, oh my god, he's going for a huge drop, and Dark is just here. Dark is pushing. Oh, this is so bad for Gumiho. Or is it? Hold on, he's got a lot of units in a kind of a flanking position right now. Scan goes down. Gumiho realizes what he's up against. Is he going to try to send these Marines out to the top side? Splitting the tanks. That's a great call. Widowmine's getting bopped down by Dark's Ravagers. Dark has that 4th base up, but he hasn't droned at all. Right now, he's trying to get a Nidus into the main base. I don't think Gumiho spots this. Well, but Gumiho's Marines have been spotted, and they're getting taken down by the Roaches. But Marines on the high ground, and all of a sudden, Dark's Roach Force is getting dwindled a little bit, but now the Nidus is finished in the main base. There's Queens and Roaches in here. Gumiho doesn't have anything in the main. Oh, he needs to do something. He's got some SCVs and some bio units going to try to hold on in the main base. Creep is being spread. A lot of workers going down already. Dark, he's going to head into that Nidus and transfer all these units from the low ground up into that main base. Gumiho has quite a bit of bio here, but it's not enough to handle these Roach reinforcements. More bio is going to have to get lifted and sent into the main base, but does Gumiho have enough? His army is very, very strong against this if he can get it all out and stimmed. But Dark's got the quick reinforcements with the Nidus. Another Nidus comes up as well, drawing a lot of the fire of these bio units. I think Gumiho's going to be able to push through, though. Dark's got to get out of here, losing some Ravagers on the retreat. And he's going to lose all these Nidus Worms as well. Those are not free. He's killed so many of Gumiho's workers. But Dark's economy's pretty crap back at home, so he's going to immediately start by droning up on the other side of the map. Now, is Gumiho just going to head across? Or is he going to continue to play defensive? I really wouldn't mind seeing Gumiho try to send some drops out right now and try to put a little bit of annoying pressure on Dark. Oh, he's not even going to drop. He's just going to push through the middle of the map. The army supplies are very close. Very close, considering Dark is on Roaches, which are super supply heavy. We see he is getting into Tunneling Claws and Burrow. He's got that 2-2 on the way. Yeah, he's playing pretty defensively. Dark knows that the possibility of a counterattack is pretty huge, but his army is pretty split. He's got some roaches in the natural, some stuff up here, and this is making this push from Gumiho feel pretty damn good, because Dark's going to have to bring everything down to defend it, and in the meantime, he's just going to be trading out kind of inefficiently with the roaches. Dark is up to 74 workers, though, so inefficiency is not the hugest deal, and he might just have too much stuff here. His +2 attack is finished, so he's not that far behind on upgrades. He cleans up Gumiho's army. Oh, Gumiho sending more units across the map. Big mistake. Needs to pull back. Gumiho is going for a double drop as well. Oh, and it looks like there's a Widow Mine down here being annoying. But now the double drop's going to show up and be even more annoying. Dark needs to deal with this. 6 more drones going down. And Gumiho pulls away. This is working out pretty well for Gumiho, but the problem is he has no extra economy behind this. There's no 4th base. His worker count is still just at 48. Oh, now the burrow comes in. How easy is it to see on this map? I don't know. That looks pretty visible, but Gumiho's just not looking over here. He's scanning the front, and he hasn't spotted it. Gumiho, no. Oh, the roaches. A few of them pop up. The rest of them pop up. They're going to find some reinforcements. They're going to dive in here and stop this 4th base from happening. There's the cancel. Right as Gumiho looked like he might be able to get an advantage back. These burrowed roaches from Dark just getting so much done. And Dark behind this is getting into his infestation pit. He loves to get into that hive. Gumiho's not done yet, though. Huge drop into the main base. I think that was 4 medevacs full of bio units. The roaches and Ravagers are going to come up and force it away, but with no queens or anything. Nothing to stop these medevacs from just moving around. Oh, Gumiho not watching, though. And he is just dropping into roaches and Ravagers. That is not particularly ideal. Going to lift up and get out of there. But he's got another push coming. Gumiho, he's down a lot of army supply. Dark does have some Banes out, or some Lings out, though. Those are decidedly not Banelings. I feel like this might be Gumiho's last chance. He just doesn't have much economy behind this. Dark is getting into infestors now, which means the longevity of this heavy bioforce is not very high. And as I say that, the huge fungal on the top side, the bottom side gets pushed away. And I think Dark is starting to really run away with this game. He's up 60 supply. He's ahead on bases. He's ahead on tech. He's only at 62 workers because I think he's realized that Gumiho's economy is pretty crap. So he's like, I don't actually really need to be on a huge worker count to fight against you. It's better if my army is bigger. And I kind of like that choice here. Dark going for massive army with the spellcasters joining up. A lot of times the spellcasters start to eat into that army supply, especially if you're on kind of a lower or like a bigger economy. You know, 5, 6, 7 infestors start to make a huge difference when you don't have a ton of supply devoted to army. But Dark is not going to have that issue. He's got a lot of roaches, a lot of ravagers, plus those infestors. This is a nice move from Gumiho, but this is like the bare minimum for Gumiho. Dark just cancels it. He's got this gold base finishing up. I was just going to say I wouldn't hate to see him take this base, and there he goes. Dark and I, our minds thinking is one. Gumiho really harassing with these Widow Mines in a very nice way, sending them out constantly. He's got this army through the middle of the map. The thing is, Dark, he was up like 50, 60 army supply, and he just didn't do anything with it. And now he's taking all these hatcheries. He's building a lurker den. His economy is pretty terrible, and while Gumiho's is also very bad, the army supplies are now even, and I'm starting to get a little worried for Dark. He does still have the infestors. He's got a few hydras out, but Gumiho is about to be maxed on 50 SCVs, and I feel like that's scary to the Zerg no matter what. Oh, these infestors are going to be so good, though. We have no ghosts out for Gumiho. Not a single EMP or snipe in sight. I know the ghosts were nerfed, but they're still pretty good, dude. Oh, Gumiho. I think Gumiho might be trapping himself right now. He's going to siege up. Whoa, where are the fungals? A couple fungals go down, but I think one of the infestors died as well. Only 5 left. The Vipers are coming out. I got to figure out what the differences here are. The new patch really throwing me off. I don't know it all that well. Okay, Vipers were slightly buffed. Oh, that's right. I forgot. Infestors got a big buff. Their starting energy is now 75, which means they start with a fungal. That is actually huge for Dark, who loves to get into infestors. JW, thank you so much for the raid. Appreciate it, buddy. Oh, those fungals are big. Those fungals are big. The lack of ghosts feeling very painful. There are some lurkers here. I feel like lurkers did get hit a little bit in this patch, but still quite strong. Gumiho trying to push forward into so many Ravagers and these lurkers, but he has a lot of tanks. He's got a lot of bio. Where are the fungals? One goes down, but Gumiho pulls back from the rest of those. Ooh, another fungal hits pretty nicely. Gumiho still has a lot of bio. I'm a little worried for Dark, but he gets a nice fungal on 2 of these unsieged tanks. The bio's starting to push through, though. The Roach is starting to go down. 26 Hydras on the way. But against Marine Marauder tank, is that the way to go? A yoink to get one of the tanks forward, but that's actually just good for Gumiho, I feel like. Or is it the Hydras and the Roaches coming out, starting to push this back? Some more Roaches show up. They were burrowed. They were somewhere out there on the map. And Gumiho is going to get routed, and he's going to be forced to tap out. Oh, that was dangerously close, I think, for Dark. But his reinforcements able to cluster together and start hitting that army together instead of just a few Hydras here and there. Dark didn't make the classic Zerg mistake in that one. And he will hold on against Gumiho. Yeah, so Lurkers, it's cheaper to get Adaptive Talons now, which is their, like, burrow-unburrow speed. But their movement speed bonus that also came with has been taken away. So it's not quite as strong as it was. I don't know that that's actually going to make any difference. Ghost Snipe is not quite as good, and the EMP is not quite as big. So Ghost Snipe does 40 less. Oh, no, it does plus 40 versus Psionic. So it still does exactly the same to, like, Infestors. But it does less to things like Broodlords and Lurkers. Be 130 instead of 170. And the EMP radius was decreased a little bit. Oh, it's radius, though, so that's actually a decent change. And that's a big deal against Infestors, too. You know, against High Templar, they group so easily. The EMP, it just lays out on a bunch of them. But the Infestors are so fat and bumbling that they kind of block each other. So the EMPs don't hit as many. So the radius change, I think, is actually going to affect that quite a bit. We're getting into game number 2. We're going to Alcyon. Alcyon. That sounds like a magician in like a Elder Scrolls game saying a spell. You know, I can picture him with the wand. Alcyon. Or maybe the staff. Do you use the staff for that? Alcyon. I don't know. You guys wand wizards or staff wizards kind of people? I feel like there's a distinct difference between the two. I feel like as a kid, I was all about the wand wizards, but as I've gotten older, the staff wizards, it's really starting to work for me. I have a nice little stick actually right next to me. It's my wizard staff. Don't worry about it. Spawning in the upper right-hand corner of game number 2 here, map 2, we have Dark, our red Zerg player, and his opponent in the lower left, the blue Terran. It's Gumiho. Ooh, Gumiho going for the low ground barracks here. So this map's actually interesting. This is the most interesting one I think that I've seen so far. So like the last map, this one is a mirrored symmetry, but the line is actually diagonal. The split on this map is diagonal, and then it's mirrored on either side of that. This is what I was talking about earlier. It's very similar to Dreamcatcher, an old map in an old map pool. But it's been so long since then that I feel like a lot of people might not even really remember that one. I love that map though, and I'm excited to see somebody go for this again and us to be able to get it in the map pool. I'm really excited for this map pool, not only because it's 9 maps, but already I've seen a few maps that they don't feel like that just same old kind of boring standard that the last map pool was like. Every single map was just the exact same thing in a lot of ways. You know, it felt like slight variations on the same theme, whereas this feels like a few different themes and variations therein. Some other fun things about this map, down from essentially your likely third base, at least for the Terran, you have these little mineral fields to open up this area, which also opens up your gold. So this gold base is 1 gas and this debris field. But of course it's pretty easily accessible by the opponent. The middle of the map is this tower, but it's also really weird pathing. So we were definitely going to see some units pathing weirdly through this, especially the big armies. But keep an eye on that later. It's something that the players so far don't seem to be used to. Earlier we saw PvP on this, and Classic and Creator both kind of fumbled through the middle of the map. But I don't know if that's going to matter, because Dark is trying to end this game early, maybe. He is droning behind this. So he's got some roaches on the way. Gumiho is going to build a bunker out in front of this barracks, going for Marines on 1 racks, and he's going to start up a Marauder and Concussive Shells on the other, expecting this to be some heavy roach pressure. But Dark, I think he's just going to build a couple of Ravagers here and try to poke at the front of Gumiho's base. Gumiho maybe being a little over-prepared, but in this situation, that's definitely better than under-prepared. The one thing Dark has to worry about is if he morphs Ravagers, the Reapers actually do quite well against them. With that Marauder out, Roaches just can't really stick around too much longer. Nice focus fire on those Reapers, though. And of course, Dark behind this has been droning, is continuing to drone, and he's just going to send these 4 roaches back home. He's not going to be able to get too much more damage. I'm surprised he didn't morph them into Ravagers, though. Dark had quite a bit of gas in the bank, but he's going for Link Speed instead. Going for that transition. Sometimes we'll see him not get Link Speed until, like, way later on these kinds of builds, and it's really funny. Quite a few Lings out, though, even without Link Speed being done. I think he wants to he might try to hit with the Lings and the Roaches, since he has them out. But Gumiho has not salvaged his bunker. He's building another bunker. He is expecting Dark to go hardcore on the attack after seeing those Lings. And you know what? Dark is building more Lings. He is building at least 1 Ravager. But with the base behind it, I don't know if he's going to go super all in with this. Still think it's a smart choice for Gumiho to build this bunker. I love the backup bunker. Overlord gets popped as well. Dark actually, he's not supply block, but he needs to build a couple more Overlords if he wants to go for an actual attack. Starting to gather some Lings. I feel like Gumiho's pretty well buttoned up at this point, and more bio units are just going to be coming out. Going to make it a lot harder for Dark to break anything here. In fact, it's starting to feel like Dark is just going to have to play defensively. I don't know. I can never tell what the hell Dark is going for. He is going to head across the map. He doesn't have vision here anymore. Gumiho's standing in front of the wall. Stim is done. There's no Baneling Nest, right? This is just going to be Ling Ravager. I feel like Gumiho has a very good chance of holding this. He is trying to... Oh, he's just getting a Reaper in. Oh, the front bunker has been salvaged. Gumiho may be salvaging at the wrong point here. He's just going to pull back There is a tank up. Oh, there's the big stim forward. The Ling's going to try to come in now. The Bile's on the door to stop the Bile from pulling back. The tank's doing a lot of friendly fire on the Bile, but there's just too much DPS here. And even with that friendly fire, Dark is not going to bust through. And suddenly Gumiho is up 12 workers on the Zerg. This Reaper even getting in and scouting that there's, at least in the main base, no lair. There's no lair at the natural. Dark has no tech and not a great economy. Gumiho's going to drop a third CC up in his base, and he's got to be feeling very good about this. That was a very good hold for Gumiho. Now Dark has some links set up for a run by. He's expecting, I think, Gumiho to move out. I don't know what the hell these supply depots are. This feels like the worst wall I've ever seen in my life. Gumiho gonna bust down the rocks and start pushing through. Okay, you know what? I don't hate this wall anymore. I don't hate this wall. It's weird, but I don't hate it. Oh, the Lings have maybe sniffed this out. They're gonna find it now. Now Dark knows exactly where Gumiho's going. He's building more Lings, trying to get some Ravagers out as well to maybe bile down these siege tanks. Gumiho needs to be careful. There's a big Ling flank coming. This tank on the backside is going to be in some trouble. Dark just goes for it, sending in units from both sides here. He's going to bile down those tanks. I think he's just got to pick up and get out of here. And Gumiho will do exactly that. Meeting up with some reinforcements. This has still worked out really well for Gumiho, though. Look at that worker count of Dark. It is garbage. He has been forced to build so many more units than he wants to. And Gumiho's going to take a third base. This is actually still very good for Gumiho. Dark's lair only just started. That means no roach speed. He's got no upgrades. I mean, really anywhere near completion. Meanwhile, +1's almost done for Gumiho. His concussive shells is finished up. These are very strong bio units. They've got 4 medevacs as well of support. I would not hate to see Gumiho just go for a drop in the main base or something. I mean, this Army of Dark just kind of sucks right now. Slow roaches, +1 missile attacks finally starts up. The economy for Dark is pretty bad. Oh my god, and these spotter overlords, they did a great job spotting, but they both died. It's just more money Dark needs to spend that he just cannot afford to right now. Gumiho realizing, I think, that there's not a 4th base. He's got to be feeling so good about it. Even going to grab another overlord here. Oh, and if he spots that one, he can get a 4th one. Finally, Dark takes the worker lead as it's now 59-58. But that is a small consolation prize for the Zerg. It looks like his 1-1 will catch up with Gumiho's. As Gumi's just on the 1 NG bay for now. He will start up 2-2 once that +1 armor is finished. But this is rough for Dark. If it was any other player, I'd say he was just totally dead. Dark, though, Dark on 65 workers can make a lot of magic happen against a Terran. Gumiho's been ahead for a long time. He's going to try to get in here, but decides to pull back. But now he's got the push at the front. He wants to try to hit this base. There's a couple 3 siege tanks with this. Oh, he's jumping on some of these roaches. The Bile's coming down. He is going to take out 2 of those siege tanks, but the Bio is just winning the fight straight up. And now they'll boost into the main, and Dark will tap out immediately. Dark was down. I mean, he went pretty committed with that Ling Ravager push and got not much done. He just killed a handful of bio units. Gumiho was very far ahead after that. He was up like 12 workers. Dark's economy was bad. His tech was bad. The follow-up push forced him to build a lot of units. Very well played from Gumiho. Once he saw those Lings, he recognized, I'm being attacked. He didn't let himself get fooled by Dark. And that is, I think, huge. It almost happened right at the end. He stimmed forward to kill those Ravagers, and that was when he realized, oh, it is actually a big attack. But he was in a good enough position. He had the tank sieged up behind the wall, pulled back, made a beautiful hold, and then just played expertly out the rest of it. it is really cool to see the players start to figure out the maps a little bit. I think Dark is a player who really trusts his instincts, and he trusts his knowledge of the map and of what the game state is. And that's a really hard thing to do on the new maps, right? Because you don't have that like intrinsic knowledge of the maps where you know every little detail about every single map. These are brand new maps for everybody, and I think Dark is going to take a little bit longer to warm up than maybe some of the other Zergs. But once he does warm up, of course, he is a powerhouse. We are tied up 1-1. We're heading into Site Delta for game number 3. This is a map I haven't seen yet today. Oh, I'm so excited. There's so many maps. Spawning in the lower right-hand corner, it is, of course, that aforementioned Zerg Dark. 2019 world champion. His opponent in the upper left-hand corner. I think 2-time GSL champion, if I'm not mistaken. It is Gumiho. Maybe just one. Maybe just the one. I think... Nah, I feel like he has like a super tournament under his belt or something. Doesn't he have a super tournament and a regular GSL? I don't know. Memory is not great. Okay, so Site Delta. Let's take a look at this map. A bit more of a kind of long and skinny map. It's not that skinny, but a little bit more so than the other maps we've seen so far today. Very green. I love the green skinning on this one. This map feels familiar in a way. I'm trying to think of what it reminds me of, but so far not seeing anything too crazy on it. We'll just have to keep an eye out. I'm pretty unfamiliar with these maps. I feel like there's been a few that I've seen in like Team Liquid map contests or whatever, but have not gotten to cast any games or play any games on any of these maps yet, so excited to see them. I might actually take a few hours and play some StarCraft in the next week or two just to try to figure out the new maps a little bit, see how they feel to play on. But usually I just trust casting StarCraft on them to teach me about the new maps. My gameplay is pretty garbage, so what can it teach me? It's mostly just about how it feels, how the map feels. I think that's why it is important to play the game that you're commentating. You understand a little bit more what the players are going through, why maybe they're making certain decisions. As much as I get to know these players by casting them, you get to know even more by playing the race, playing that matchup. Actually, one reason I feel like commentators really should off-race and play all of the races, even if they just kind of dabble in their off-races. But I think it's really important to kind of understand the matchups from an opposite perspective. That being said, it's always fun to watch players cast matches. They just have such a bias. There's such like an unashamed bias that we're all aware of. It's always fun. Gumiho going for the double heli in this game instead of the double Reaper. He's got a quick third CC. Very, very standard play out of Gumiho to start this one off. And I mean, you can, but you can't really do the double Reaper in the wall here. It'd be really awkward, especially if you're not super familiar with the wall. You might end up with a gap that you're not ready for. If you're a Protoss out there and you're looking for map guides to figure out how you want to do your walls, I know Gemini always posts one. I'm sure it's on his Twitter or on the All Things Protoss Reddit or Discord or wherever. Check that out. It's so useful. It's so every time there's a new map pool, I always look at that. It's so important to know how to wall off as Protoss, especially as Protoss, on the new maps. And we've seen even the top players will get a little bit confused by new maps and new kind of variations and things and mess up wall-ups. Zest was kind of infamous for that. Hero has had some issues with walls in the past. There's a map, Winter's Gate, that I remember casting Zest on, and man, he just flubbed that wall so hard. Made me feel better, you know? Even the best can have issues. Gumiho going for a Hellbat all-in. Now, Hellbats did get changed. This is something I don't know that I expected to see here. But I think they got nerfed, but only later in the game, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so their damage bonus per upgrade has been reduced. So Hellbats have been slightly nerfed, specifically nerfed against Zerglings in the late game, which is one of those things that I don't think a lot of people like. Maybe the Zergs do, but that's not going to affect us here, as Dark is trying to get some roaches out. But the thing is, there's also concussive shell marauders with this. So a few roaches might not be the strongest, but the Queens and the Lings going to try to get on top of this. The Lings going for the Marines and Marauders, while the Queens go for the Hellbats. This medevac standing strong up top, healing these units. Queens do have a few transfuses. They will be spending that energy. The Hellbat still diving on top of them, though. This one, plus the Reaper, going to kill that Queen. More Hellbats show up for Gumiho. The Queens are dead. There are 9 roaches on the way, but they're about to pop into all of the splash damage in the world. All these Lings and roaches. Roaches on the bottom side. Drones fighting against this. Oh, but the Hellbat turns around. It's roasty toasty in these dronies. Oh, the base goes down. Has Gumiho done it? Dark still has a good amount of workers, but he's only on 2 bases. If he can clean this up, maybe. But the fancy pickup micro plus the concussive shells making it a lot harder. Finally, the roaches will win out the day, and Gumiho's going to have to pull back. But remember, this was a fast 3rd CC build. The worker count is even. Gumiho is up an entire base. Almost a full mining base for Gumiho in the lead. The roaches are coming across the map, but some reinforcements from Gumiho should be enough here if he drops these Marauders out. Dark, he's morphing some Ravagers. SCV's getting pulled. I think that's a great choice from Gumiho. And I just don't think there's enough here for Dark. He's going to drop a Bile. Morph some more Ravagers. I mean, Ravagers are pretty good here. I'm just worried that Dark's overcommitting to this, but what else can he really do? There's like 6 Marauders here. Oh, the Bile connects on the Hellbat. Gumiho making a bit of a mistake there. Second Hellbat goes down. SCVs are going to have to get pulled again. Biles again trying to catch some of these Marauders sleeping. So far, the Biles have hit pretty well. The Biles have been expertly placed by Dark. But as the roaches die, the Ravagers are feeling very exposed. And they are going to have to run away and wait for maybe some reinforcements. 12 Lings on the way. This has allowed Dark to get this base up. Gumiho's so good at building workers, though. He's lost a handful, but he's still in the lead. Plus the mules, his income has been crushing it. Dark, though, he double expanded, plus he's got another hatch on the way up. If Gumiho chills for too long, Dark's going to be on 5 bases. Oh, and this Ling run by is so sick. Just keeping this army home a little bit longer. Forcing Gumiho to think about this. Gumiho's going to go for a Marauder drop. You know, the classic 4 Marauder drop. Well, that run by did not work. This base could be a little bit exposed, but it's just 3 Queens at it right now, so Marauder's not going to be able to even unload. Gumiho pushing to the north side. He is up quite a bit of army supply right now. Dark is building more Lings, but he's just got a handful of roaches. No roach speed or anything. Just a big stim out of this Bioforce. The roaches and Ravagers might be able to do okay here. Gumiho sticking around to fight with the unsieged tank, bringing more Marines forward. Meanwhile, that Marauder drop is hitting the main base. Marauder's not the best against drones, but when it's just drones, yeah, the Marauders will do fine. Oh, and they are going to stop this Bane Nest from coming up. Dark trying to fight this out, transfusing roaches and Ravagers, but I think Gumiho's got enough here. The tank on the backside will get filed down, and one of the medevacs goes down. Okay, all of a sudden, Dark doing a little bit better. but the lair is taking a lot of damage right now. It's at half health. These Stim Marauders going to try to target it down. Now they can't quite get it. Could be a target later for Gumiho, though. Drop in the back of the mineral line has dropped down, but the Queens are going to stop this from picking up. However, the Ravagers getting gunned down, all 3 of them falling, and Gumiho's got another push. There's 2 tanks and a ton of 1-1 Marines with this 1-1 just barely not done for Dark. And he is just going to evacuate this base. But that is not the call he wants to make right now. The 4 Marauders dropping in the mineral line. 11 drones have gone down. The Queens are going to push this medevac away, but Dark has lost another base. Gumiho, in the meantime, has taken another base, and he maintains his economic lead. The Queens are going to push this medevac away. Can they get the alley-oop? Not quite. Oh my god. And the 3 Marauders continue to cause headaches for Dark as Gumiho pushes forward once again. The tanks are unsieged, but doesn't matter. There's so many Marines. Dark is floating a ton of money. His Queens have been wandering around. They're not injecting the hatcheries because they're too focused on defense, and GG gets called as Gumiho gets what I would consider a big upset here over Dark. Not taking advantage of a new Cyclone. In fact, not really taking advantage of the new patch at all, just utilizing the map to his advantage. And honestly, a lot of that has been defending Dark's heavy early game aggression really, really nicely. I think that speaks more to the level of play Gumiho's at right now. But also, something I talked about a little bit earlier, I think is really coming to play. Dark needs to get really settled on maps before the way he plays gets to its highest level, whereas I think Gumiho, I think he is just rip-roaring ready to go from the start. He's such a smart, thinking player that new stuff immediately gets absorbed in. Awesome to see him take down Dark here and move on to the grand finals.